So okay, let me review the answer to you, and let me explain now on the basis of equity. Okay, Arthur has spent his own money to build his own house. In equity means in justice and in fairness. He must be allowed to live in the house until he dies, though the land would not be given to him. So now you must know, okay, there is the land that he's not given the land, but because he built his own house, so it's unfair to evict him. So that's why the judge say that, okay, you must, stepmother, you must allow him to live here. All right, so this is called equity. It's called equity. Now, the will supersedes the elder son's claim. Okay, so the elder son say, hey, I'm also a son, so I should be given the land. So then the judge says, sorry, the will says that you have no claim. C, the law has been abolished since the late 1970s. Now, adverse possession, in this case, there was no adverse possession. Because why? Because the father allowed the son to remain on land. So it's not adverse. Adverse means, hey, I don't allow you to possess the land, but then you continue to be there. I should have report you, but I didn't go and report. But I don't approve of you. So okay. So anyway, the law has been abolished, but why we still mention it now? Because any rights that you have obtained before the 70s through adverse possession law, then you have the land law up to today, like easement, sometime restrictive covenant and all that. You have it. So you cannot say that, hey, no, last time this my father's land, then you choke the land already, now you serve restrictive covenant, cannot and all that. No, it continue to remain in our land law system. All right, so D, the father did not make any promises to Arthur. So okay, so I hope you are warmed up enough. So now I want to answer questions. So that will be okay. I mean, this is as a reminder, I have actually invested a lot of my resources on the e-revision. So I hope that after today, you all can purchase the package and then just pass it at one go. All right, so go to my website to do it.
Sam?
Yes.
Sorry, this is Jennifer. I have a question, yeah. I already bought those, which I told you before. And now, they are all e-learning, e-courses and e-papers, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because I believe, because I saw an email from SALT, and it has given me a password. So I need to use that password to go into your course, and I can change my password, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I haven't done it yet. I received the email. So yeah, because as I've told you, I'm not taking the exam because I'm still attending lessons right now. And it will only end end of this week. So
no issue. No issue. We will not. I mean, even though we say it's 90 days, but because this is a very unusual situation, so we'll allow you to study until you take the exam. So, but it's going to all happen on the e-learning website. My website is an e-learning website. So you have to just log in and do and try your MCQ and listen to my videos. Ken?
Thank you so much.
Okay, so now I want to answer a question. Alvin, I'll answer your question later. Okay, maybe I answer Alvin's question first. Difference between reversionary interest and remainder interest in the life estate. So you want to ask a question on this one? Okay, so let me see. Okay, I got video on that. So maybe I can. Okay, wait. Maybe I can. Oh. You just you hang on. Reversionary interest. Okay. Okay, can y'all, I mean, if y'all don't mind, y'all just watch a short video. You'll just watch a short video on reversionary interest. Can? Oh, I don't know how. Sorry. Okay. This particular video, I will explain reversionary right. Actually, when you look at the return of Hong Kong, that is okay. Can somebody just put in the chat? Can you see this? Can you see my video?
Yes, can see.
Right. Okay. Meaning, before 1997, Hong Kong was leased to Great Britain, and by 1st July 1997, China then exercised the reversionary right. So that's the biggest example of reversionary rights. But now we want to look at smaller situations involving real estate owners. So now the reversionary right is closely related to tenancies and long leases. Now, end of a tenancy or a long lease, such as I just mentioned Hong Kong, 140-year lease, the ownership of the property then goes back or revert to the original owner. Now, the original owner may be a freeholder. Now, in the case of a tenancy, you can be a leasehold owner. So you rent out 3 years. After 3 years, you take it back. So when you take it back, that is called reversion. Reversion. Now, in the interim, the original owner holds the reversionary rights. Now, the following landowners or property owners enjoy the right. The biggest example will be the state. That's why I start this video by talking about Hong Kong, because it's involved England and China. So at the state level. So into this video, our context will be landowner, private landowner, and the state. So I got newspaper cutting to prove to you. 2 is freehold owners, and then 3 is landlords of yearly tenancies. Because leases will be either by the freehold owner. Later we will use the shore residences as an example, and then the state. Then I have a newspaper cutting to show you. Then the 4th will be grantor of live estate, so which need a little bit of explanation. Now let's start with the state. Government land sale program, whereby state leases of 99 years, sometimes it's 30 years for industrial land site. So you have like also 60 years. Now, so all these land introduced by URA or any approved government agencies acting as an agent in the government land sale program. So whoever tender for the land, now once the land is sold to them, they will have the full term 99-year or 60-year or 30-year for them to develop the land and use it. Sometimes they develop and then they sell. So end of that leasehold tenure, then the land will then go back to the state, lock, stock, and barrel without any compensation. So for whatever benefits you would have enjoyed during the tenure. Now let me show you a newspaper cutting. This altogether 191 houses. They were on 60-year lease. So 1960, now it's 2020. So they will have to return their houses back to SLA, lock, stock, and barrel, there will be no compensation. So this is a reversion that we see in our lifetime. Because 60-year lease is not really very short. So now we begin to see, expiry of state leases. Freehold owner can also grant privately long leases. I just mentioned earlier, the Shaw residences at Katong, the land is actually fee simple. So developer acquire the land in a en bloc purchase, then they split it into two parcels. One is called the Sound, the other one is called the Shaw. So do they sell freehold? No. They actually grant a 103-year lease. So when the building is completed, when the house owner took the key to the condo, just nice, 99 years leasehold. So meaning, let's say there's no en bloc, which is unlikely because about 50 over years, I think the original developer will say, come, sell back to me, and then they will take it back, and then they will redevelop all over again. Okay, but let's, for argument's sake, let's say there's no en bloc. Everybody lives there for 99 years. So end of 99 years, now the land will then go back to the freehold owners. In this case, of course, the developer who also owned the land. Now you have 30-year lease, such as this is also private lease. Ministry of National Development actually leased the entire office component in GEM, Jurong East Mall, for 30 years. So this is privately done. Now, end of the lease, then the rights, the property rights, the land rights, all will then go back to the original landowner. Now, in this case, of course, GEM is also a 99-year leasehold. So privately, you can arrange it because it just leases only, leases. Now, landlords of yearly tenancies, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, of course, you can be up to 7 year. So 7 years will be the longest tenancy. So there are people who ask me, what about 5 plus 5 is 10 already? I said, no. 5 plus 5 is still a 5-year lease. The plus 5 is an option for you to renew the lease for another term of 5 years, because you may not, the tenant may not want to exercise it. So end of tenancy, whether it's a 7-year tenancy or 5-year tenancy, or whether 3-year tenancy, the property rights then revert to the landlord. Now, landlord can be holding a freehold interest, can be holding leasehold interest. It doesn't matter because this is tenancy. Okay, so now, grantors of live estates needs a bit of explanation. Now, usually this will happen when there is a testate succession. Testate succession means property passed down through the operation of a will. That means the original owner passes on, and then there's a will that says that, okay, I want my property to go to my children. Now, some property owners, they leave behind a bizarre will. They say, I want my property to go to the third generation. And then I want the third generation to grant the second generation a live estate. That means the grandfather may be thinking that then I don't shortchange the second generation. You get to enjoy my property for your lifetime. And after you die, then the rights, the freehold rights, then go to the next generation, and that's it. So in this case, you have a live estate with reversionary interest. Now, in some other videos, I talk about live estate with remainder. That means you get passed down. But there are families, they don't believe in this, because sometimes when you pass down the property to the second generation, and then you just grant a live estate, and then you expect the second generation to pass down to the third generation and fourth generation and all that, then you jolly well be very rich. That means your wealth will never be depleted, Because sometimes when the property is passed down to the second generation, then the second generation don't do well already. Then they can't maintain the property. Then third generation also don't do well. They can't maintain the property. And then the property will be in ruin. Then instead of a fortune, it becomes a curse. Now, so that's why some of the landowners, they are more progressive in thinking. They say, okay, never mind. I'll be very happy if the property is passed to the third generation, and then I want the third generation to grant a life estate to the second generation. Now, let me read out these slides for you. The beneficiary of a freehold right instructed, received the instruction in the will to grant life estate to the older relative, whether it's your uncle or auntie. So the right will revert back to the freeholder when the older beneficiary dies. So let me give you a bit of illustration. Say, for example, grandfather passed away in year 2000. Now, instead of passing the property directly to the son, now he said, no, let me pass to the third generation. So you see, the boy here, now he has the freehold interest. But what is the instruction of the will? The instruction of the will is, now you give your uncle the life estate. Let he live in this property until he dies, because you're still very young. So now you look at the uncle there. Now the uncle there, the title is leasehold. All right, leasehold, life estate. That means for the duration of your life. So when the uncle dies, the second generation son dies, then the black arrow point back to the third generation. So the third generation now will take over the property. Now, so while the uncle enjoy the full possession of the property, now the third generation, their name is still in the title, in the front page. This is proprietor. Then the uncle's name is at the last page, called lessee. So when you do a title search, you will discover this kind of a relationship. So you will know that there is a reversioner in waiting. So now I hope you have the concept here. Now, so other related topics will be freehold versus leasehold, leasing versus license, reversioner with remainder. The story you just heard is reversioner versus remainder. The story you just heard is life estate with remainder. So now I seriously hope that that will clarify some of the doubts for you, right? So I hope also you enjoy the explanation. Okay, so now I hope Alvin, you now you have a clear picture of what is a life estate. Life estate is just for somebody to own the property for the duration of his life, and then he will have to, when he die, he will have to give it to someone. Now the difference is that someone that you have to give to maybe that someone who grant you the right, just like in the illustration, the third generation were instructed to give the right to the second generation so that everybody is fair. They get to live in the house. Then when the second generation dies, then the freehold right goes back to the third generation. Now for remainder, it's just passed down. Okay, so now Ridwan asks, what happened if the third generation dies before the second generation? Then the third generation will have a will. Then the will will say who will inherit. So you see, the grandfather wants the wealth to go to the third generation, and he's already very happy already. So whatever the third generation wants to do to the property, the grandfather already say, okay, I got no eyes to see already, because why? I already passed away already. So the third generation may not do well in life, but then they are the freehold owner of a real estate. So they can just sell. They can just sell the real estate. They will make it already. You get what I mean? So okay. Okay, I think now what if the third generation got no will? Simple. Then will be intestate succession. Intestate succession. Intestate succession means what? The next of kin, let's say the third generation pass away without a will, but then the spouse will then claim 100%. So let's say the spouse say, never mind, I give it to my children. So I mean, is what you call that? Spouse will get. All right. So because we are not insurance agent, so insurance agent, they'll be very good in intestate succession, and all that. So for us, yeah, I think the exam sometimes will ask us intestate succession. All right, okay. So but we just keep it at this level. So let's say no will, then intestate succession will take over. All right, okay. Okay, third generation die as a child, parents also die. How? No, don't worry. Because why? Because the next of kin can be a cousin, can be a nephew, can be a niece. That means the survivor in the bloodline. So you know, if you remember the skeleton house, the skeleton house, meaning the previous owner died in the house for 17 years. Actually, nobody realized, no, until one day, don't know why, some government people actually go inside the house and found a set of skeleton. So that belongs to a very old woman. So after 17 years, the Chief Justice actually appoint a law firm to find out who are related to this dead person. So the law firm actually advertise in the paper. They put notices in all MRT station and bus station and all that. I almost went for a blood test, you know. Okay, and then after that they found 3 distanced relative, 3 of them. And then when the property was on block, I mean not on block, so auction off, each one of them get about close to 700,000. Close to 700,000. So this is what happened when somebody died without a will, and the Ministry of Law, you have the public trustee there. So somehow they have to account for the money, account for the whatever lah. Okay, the real estate. No, I'm just joking. Why I go for blood test? Okay, because there's a terrace house. A terrace house sold for, I think in the end, sold for 2.2 million. Okay, so now let me now go back to the slides. Somebody asked 8 questions this afternoon, so I just want everybody to hear the answers. So now I think we will continue to do this revision until all of you are, all of you pass your exam. So probably next week we'll do again. So then I will appreciate very much if you all can email your question to me. Then everybody can share. If not, then this will be very boring. Okay, so now let's answer the first one. First question. Does the landed property owner need to pay development charge if he wants to build another story? Now, if let's say now the question got 2 parts. Number 1 part is this a designated landed property area? Is this a designated landed property area? Now, if it is, then there's no plot ratio. If it is designated as a landed property area, there is no plot ratio. So that's first point of the answer. Now, when there is no plot ratio, then you will go by the setback. Now, I hope you still remember what is setback, meaning your front wall must set back means bring in. Setback means bring in. From the boundary wall, you bring in 7.5 meter where you build your front wall. Your side wall from your boundary line, from your boundary line, I mean, we call it boundary wall. Usually you build your wall on your property line. So from your boundary wall, you have to bring in 2 meters. Let's say this is a bungalow. So both sides, you got to bring in 2 meters. At the rear, you got to bring in 2 meters also. And then after that, so this is second point already. This second, this is, if you have no plot ratio, then number one, you go by setback. Front, bring back 7.5 meter. Then side and back, bring back 2 meters. So that's point number one. Number two, is there a story height limit? Let's say the story height is 2 story. Then you can build up to 2.5, 2.5 story, 2.5 story, meaning the half story is an attic, which maximum is half the floor size of your second floor. So 2.5. All right. That's it. How big can you build when you have to set back the wall in from the boundary wall, and then you have a story height? So whatever you can build, then you are limited by the setback and the story height. So this one, paper one, first lesson, usually I will touch on. Remember I say the distance between your iron gate and your wooden door determines your wealth. If you live in a HDB, you open your wooden door, is your iron gate already. But if you live in a landed property, your iron gate is 7.5 meters away from your wooden door. If you remember this one. If you are my students, you remember this one. Okay, so there's the first part of the answers. If this is designated as a landed property area, then you'll be limited by the setback and then the story height limit or story height restriction. So first part of your answer. Now, what happened here is that your landed property is on a non-designated landed property area whereby there is a plot ratio. Let's say a plot ratio of 1.4. Plot ratio of 1.4. So whatever existing height your property is, you want to build up, then go by DC already. You okay with me? Because then you will be building more floor area. Floor area means value. So URA will want to charge you. So that will answer your question one superficially because how much development charge and under what kind of circumstance and all that you will have to then talk to an architect. The architect will tell you more because development charge is architect's job, not our job. For us, we just provide the outline. Okay, so now first question, let's see whether we have any questions from there. Okay, somebody asked, what is non-designated landed area? Okay, can I ask you back this question? Okay, are you my students? Okay, I mean, a lot of you are not my students, I know. Okay, but never mind. Let me answer this question. There are 58 designated landed housing area. Okay, so now I suspect they are not using my course notes anymore. Because my course notes would have that. Okay, I would have covered that. First lesson 1, I would have covered the 58 designated landed property area. Now, meaning you cannot have any other housing form there. Let's say it says that this is a semi-D area, all right, you have to build only semi-D and bungalow. That means you can upsize, you cannot downsize. If let's say this is a bungalow area, you will only see bungalow. Of course, if this is a mixed landed housing area, then you can have all. So now a non-designated landed property area, one very famous example will be Telok Kurau. In fact, the entire Telok Kurau is not a designated landed property area. Most of the land there got plot ratio of 1.4. Can. Now you usually in the exam they won't test you. Is it 58 designated area or 39 good class bungalow area? Now I don't think they will give marks like that so easy. Like that is very easy. Usually they don't test you this kind of question. Usually they test you conceptual understanding. All right, so now let's go back to the question. Second question. If a tenant installed a ceiling light, is he allowed to remove it after the lease term? Now, you have to remember, tenant, whatever fixture the tenant fix for decorative purpose, the tenant can bring. No such thing as I rent your house, and then after that, because the house got no aircon, then I install aircon, tenant install aircon. Because the tenant can buy a second-hand aircon, right? The tenant will say, okay, wow, cannot, no aircon, I cannot, okay? So, in the past, you got those window unit. Even now got window unit also. So then the tenant go and install a window unit aircon. And end of the lease, the tenant will just dismantle and sell the aircon. So now whatever fixture that the tenant installed in the house, end of the lease, he can bring go, right? Okay, so tenants fixture, the landlord cannot touch one, unless the tenant say, hey, I don't think I have money to revert. Hey, you want or not? Usually some cheapskate landlord will say, oh yeah, okay, leave the aircon here. And then next round when they rent out, they say their house got aircon. But after the aircon spoil, don't want to pay for repair. I mean, sorry, I mean, once you become agent, you always have this kind of problem. Okay, then you get very, very frustrated. You get very angry with landlord. Okay, so the rule of fixture, when it comes to tenancy, a little bit different. So this is a relevant question because in the exam they may trick you. So again, let's see whether there are any related questions. Now, as I answer the question, so if you're not clear, please write in the text to ask me. Okay, so it looks like quite okay. Everybody quite okay. Hey, can I ask you a question? For those who are not my students, what happened to your trainers? What happened to your trainer? Or you're just okay? Never mind. Anybody who give free revision, just go. Okay. What's the difference between subletting and assignment of lease? Now, sublet is, now let's say I'm a tenant and I sublet. Sublet means I'm still using the premises. So now for residential leasing, no sublet is allowed. Because when the landlord found out that the tenant sublet means that the market is very good, right? Only when the market is very good, then the tenant will be caught subletting. So the landlord will be very angry. The landlord will terminate the lease. Because why let you sublet? I sublet, right? So that's why for residential leasing is strictly no subletting. But for commercial properties, commercial leasing is a different story. Such as now, if this is retail, you sell things, then your business not so good, and you will ask the landlord for permission to sublet. So now let me now test you back. Let me now test you back. All the leases prohibit subletting and assignment. So now your business no good. Now you go back to your landlord and say that, landlord, can I have permission to sublet or to assign? Assign means let another person take over. And then the landlord say, okay. All right. So what kind of situation is this? Okay. Am I contradicting myself? Okay. So now I want to invite answers. Okay. Let's see, Alvin. Alvin, have you started studying or listening to my video? I know Alvin bought the video last week. Jennifer said she haven't studied yet. Okay, Han has studied already, because from my end, I know who have studied and all that. Okay, so now what is the situation here? In the contract, I'm not allowed to sublet or I'm not allowed to assign. But then I ask for permission and then landlord grant me. So how do you describe this situation? Okay, so anybody want to answer this question?
Compassion.
Sorry?
Compassion.
No, it's not compassion. It's not compassion. I say permission. Landlord's permission. There's a name to it. Okay, so now let me type into the chat so y'all can see. Can y'all see there? Permission is license. So when the contract say no subletting or no assignment, but now I really need to sublet and I really need to assign. So now I go to my landlord and say that, landlord, can you let me assign? Can you let me sublet? And then landlord say, yeah, okay lah, I know market is bad. So now the landlord say, yes, you can sublet, despite the contract say cannot. Now you have a license to sublet. Are y'all clear? Y'all clear? Okay. So contractually not allowed to sublet, but you have landlords giving you the license to sublet. Okay, so now let's go back. No need to be in writing. You just say okay already. So let's say this is strata titled property. You go to the management office. You ask the managing agent. So usually they will tell you, okay, you may do it, but once you find the assignee, you just have to ask the assignee to provide you with the ACRA and then covering letter we will allow. I mean, this is practical. So most of your examiners won't, no, they are not in practice. Okay, so somebody asked, what about privity of contract and estate between sublet and assignee? Now the assignee and the sublessee will be bound via privity of estate. Privity of estate. Next Saturday. Okay, anyway, you continue to come for my Saturday quiz show. I think privity of contract and privity of estates are coming already, because land law, then we will have this kind of topic, privity of estate, privity of contract. Okay, so now let me answer the rest of the questions. Question 3, what's the difference between, okay, sorry. Question 4, landed property had no plot ratio, but there's height limit, story height limit. Now you have two types of height limits. Number one is story height limit. Story height limit means 2-story, 3-story, 2-story or 3-story. Meter height limit, okay, or just general above mean sea level. Above mean sea level, Later I will type into the chat. Now, so above means sea level. AMSL. AMSL. So sometimes when you look at master plan in the city area, AMSL, let's say they put 27 meter. 27 meter means you can go up only 9 story lah. Okay, so AMSL 150 meter means that you can go up 50 story. Above means sea level. So two types of height: story height and above means sea level height. Okay, so I really appreciate that y'all ask question this way, so that so that we are more organized. Does the inspector from CEA need to make an appointment with estate agent, or can they just anytime do a spot check as long as any RAS is there? Actually, I don't think now they do spot check anymore. When they first started, they do spot check. They're a bit zealous. You know what's the meaning of zealous? Very on. And these are all retired policemen. And in fact, okay, some of you don't know. I was a policeman before. Okay, I spent 10 over years in the police force, secret police for that matter. Okay, then of course, 22 years ago, I became an agent. So I still recognize many of the sergeants, previous sergeants who are now CEA inspector. Now, to answer your question, yes, they can do spot check. But no, nowadays they don't do this kind of spot check unless of course it's very rampant. Like for example, a lot of people never wear lanyard. A lot of people flout the rule and all that. Yes, last time we're talking about like 10 years ago, 9-10 years ago, they do spot check. Wow, I tell you, agents are very angry with them. No, okay. Question number 6. Once SMP is announced, 20% of the purchase price will be forfeited by the developer if the buyer is unable to pay the progressive payment. So what happened to the rest of the previous installment? Now, SMP is announced. Usually the developer will sue you for specific performance. There will be, they won't take back the contract and all that. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we are very realistic about the situation. Now, they will ask you to perform. That means they will go to court to sue you. And then what happened is that you have to sell the property. Once you sell the property, and then you take losses. Okay, so there's a lot of difference between whether they forfeit you and all that. No, they won't do that. They won't do that. They forfeit means they take back the contract. No, so meaning let's say you buy 1 million, for example, and then after that you cannot continue, and then you have to sell. Now, when you have to sell, you have the SSD, for example. Then as a result, you lose money. Then they don't care. Like in the end, you manage to sell 1 million, for example. You buy 1 million, but you manage to sell 1 million. But the 1 million, the buyer will pay you 200,000. All right, okay. So the 800,000, they will wait for the developer to slowly invoice them. So when you take back the 200,000, let's say you have to pay SSD 160,000, for example. No, 120,000. So you're left with 80,000. 80,000. Let's say you have used 50,000 of your CPF. Then you take back only 30,000. So then after that, you have to pay an agent 20,000. So you take back 10,000. I mean, it's this kind of situation. So if let's say earlier you have used your CPF to actually pay your stamp duty and all that, so now you have negative. So don't have to worry about question 6. Okay, because the actual situation is the developer will make sure that you take losses, and then the contract will be assigned to your assignee. Then your assignee, okay lah, he pay his own ABSD, he pay his own SSD and all that. So to the developer lah, there's no loss at all. Because why? He already take your 200,000. So you're now waiting to invoice your assignee the rest of the purchase price. I don't know whether you understand my explanation or not. Okay, so you won't go back to the contract. You will just have to sell in the resale market. Let me now look at the chat, because as I was explaining this one, some questions come in. Oh, okay. Somebody mentioned here is from Celeste paper. Okay, now don't use her paper to come and test me. You should go and ask her, because you have to buy from her. So you should ask her to answer this question. My answer is very simple. Tenants think, tenants can take. Okay, tenants think, tenants can take. I don't know how often she update herself. So I think we should not comment anymore. Okay. You see whether she will do this for you, give free revision and all that. Okay. Despite that, I will still answer your question. Question 7, can the owner apply for a new certificate of title if they want their title indicating their respective shares? Okay, this one you go to a lawyer to split the share. So what happened is this. Now there are two situations. Say for example, this is HDB. Okay, no, it doesn't matter. Two situations. One is because of the economic environment, and then people start to lose their job and all that. So then they start to want to rearrange the share apportionment of the financing. That means maybe last time the husband pay more, then maybe the husband lose the job, then now the wife pay more and all that. So basically just inform the bank or inform the CPF, then you just fill up the forms, all the respective forms. Now, so that will not affect the respective shares, Now, but let's say they want to change the joint tenancy, into tenancy in common. All right. So usually will be by way of serving unilateral severance. So meaning split 50-50. So the Land Titles Act allow you to on your own split the share, but one split is equal share. Let's say 3% become 3.33 lah. 2% becomes 50-50. Okay, Now, so what happened here is that usually is unilateral severance. Only when they cannot agree, then they will go to court to get the court to declare the shareholding. So we have Sitiawa's case, whereby the court says that okay, is 23 versus 77%. So you still need to go through lawyer. Then eventually, let's say they are not happy, then they have to go to court to seek the court's declaration. Okay. So now let's see. Okay, let me answer some questions. Some of the questions come in privately. Okay, Alisa just text me something, so I just reply to Alisa. This private message, okay. You just keep it to yourself. I think it's very unfair, to me, okay. So anyway, okay. So any question on 7? Can the owners apply for a new certificate of title if they want their title indicating their respective shares? Yeah, of course, when you split the share already, you have to register the new title. All right, so the new title will then be issued, indicating that now there is a what I call that. Now there is a tenancy in common, so the title will have to change. Okay, so can you just keep your discussion about other trainers' paper to yourself? Okay, I don't think this is the right platform. In fact, this thing happen all the time. I mean, even in my class, when I give lecture and all that, I give free tutorial and all that. People will take someone else MCQ which contain a lot of mistakes, and then they come and confront me. Unless I'm the one who give you the wrong answer, you kind of confront me. All right, okay. So you must know from so many weeks ago, I've been coming up with new questions to help you understand the same situation using different case law to help you. All right, now question 8, to top up lease from 55 years to 99 years, that means you have to buy 44 years. So there is a table. That is the percentage of leasehold period to freehold. All right. And then you will know 44 years. All right. There is a certain percentage to the land value. Land value is always freehold value. Then after that, there is the conversion table to tell you 44 years equals how many percent. And then the open market value is always freehold value. So 44 years, let's say, equal 56%. Let's say, I don't have the table with me, but the table is in your course notes. So then you just apply that percentage on the open market value, and that will be the differential premium payable to SLA. Usually it's SLA because SLA is the one who grant the lease, not URA, SLA, Singapore Land Authority. Okay, so somebody just say is 71.2%. So let's say the open market value of this project is 100 million, for example. Then you want to buy 44 years, then you will have to pay 71.2 million. Okay, everybody can see Silver Sea's answer. There are Tanjia, there are Tanjia trainer, and they are very serious trainer. Whether a trainer is willing to give free lesson on his free time, you'll know their level of commitment. And to tell you the truth, I come up with this e-learning portal and all that, and I don't know, maybe because of this, I lose my job, so to speak. Okay, so they don't use me anymore, and but I do not know how you have access to other trainers' MCQ. You know, the MCQ has been like 8-9 years old, no update at all. But you just have to look at mine, okay? Like we have, like Alvin just bought the teaching material and all that. So if you have already listened to the lecture, then you will know that the lecture itself, the content has been updated. All right, and then I have actually more research. I've done more research. Like today's first 3 questions, you were not there. We started with first 3 MCQ question. Yeah, I know it's old case, a very old case, but I didn't share this in the class. So now you will see that a lot. Now, if you buy my MCQ or you buy the whole package, you'll find that there are a lot of new questions. Okay. All right. So yeah, thank you, Alvin, because Alvin would have listened to the 10 lectures. Alvin would have tried the MCQ. Then you will know that actually this is exam grade. Exam grade, meaning there's lots and lots of scenario questions. Lots and lots of scenario questions. Almost, okay, if you read up to 600, MCQ 600 onwards, the 400 questions, almost every other questions is a scenario questions. All right, okay, you must know how much time I have invested in doing the research for you all. Okay, come now. Okay, now we open discussion for everybody. You all just type in your question in the chat. Okay, somebody asked me SCT. SCT. I happen to have another video. So can I show you the video on subsidiary certificate of title? Yes or no? Are you all there? Okay, so I will share another video with you. Now, what is the difference between subsidiary certificate of title and subsidiary strata certificate of title? So it's SCT versus SSCT. Okay, let's quickly do a very quick introduction. Now, land title is known as the certificate of title. Strata title is known as the subsidiary strata certificate of title, or SSCT. What then is the subsidiary certificate of title, or SCT, used for? Now, over the years of teaching RES, I know even a week before the RES exams, I will still have students coming to me to ask me, Sam, can you please explain what's the difference between SCT and SSCT? So that's why I decided to actually record a series of very short videos so that you can clarify your doubts with me. Now, SCT is conferred upon long leases of airspace. So subsidiary certificate of title is also known as the lease title. So the most common example of a lease title is HDB lease title. And of course, you have JTC lease title. And of course, you have those long leases. Now, when we say long leases, basically, I just want to make a distinction between long lease and short tenancy. Now, tenancies are commonly about 2 to 3 years. So maybe office leases, you have like 5 years. Now, like I know for a fact that WeWork rent 7 years. So those are still tenancies. So on their balance sheet, they don't have an office asset. Now, there are people who lease 10-year factory lease. So on their balance sheet is reflected as they own factories. So now, so this is the difference between short tenancy, that means up to 7 years, and long leases that can be 9,999 years, or the common one being 99-year residential leases or 30-year factory leases. Now, so common examples of SCT will be private apartments that occupy only airspace with no share in land. So the more common example will be shop house, on top of the shop house or on top of a shop. Now, on top of a shop house can be an office, and somebody can come in and rent for 10 years. So actually, rent for 10 years, you become the lessee. You become the owner. So I have here that somebody rented a private apartment on top of a coffee shop. So for 99 years. So now, usually they'll do it in the 60s, 1960s. So by now they would have left 30 over year lease remaining on lease, 30 over years remaining on lease. Now, no share in land. That is the main difference between SCT and SSCT. Don't forget, SSCT, you have the subsidiary strata certificate of title. So the word strata means that there is a collective ownership of common property. You need to set up a corporation called MC. Now, but SCT is different. There is no collective ownership of common properties. All right, that means that the land title, all right, that is the CT, certificate of title, is still in the hand of the lessor or the landowner. So in my earlier example of a coffee shop and then apartment on top of the coffee shop, now the land title is still in the hand of the coffee shop owner. So he's the landowner. So upstairs only own the airspace. Now example, Ministry of National Development leases the entire office component of Jurong East Mall for 30 years. This is reported in the news. Another example will be Factory A sublets a portion of its space to operator B for 10 years. So that will then result in a lease title, because 10 years you must register your title. If not, then it will be illegal. Now, so later on, I will have videos on tenancy and leases. You will come across equitable lease. Now, equitable lease means what? Means that, okay, you have this kind of situation where two parties, they agree to a lease of 10 years. And then because it's exceeding 7 years, so the law requires the parties to register this interest. So sometimes they don't want to register. They just, maybe the lessee say, no, I just want to have a guarantee of 10 years of usage. I don't want to be the owner and all that. Now, so it may look like it's illegal. So no, you just don't have a registration, but your contract to lease the place for 10 years continue to bind both parties. So therefore, in this kind of situation, it is known as the equitable lease. So you're not a legally registered lessee, but nonetheless, there's a binding contract before the lessee and the lessor. Okay, so now the next concept I want to discuss will be the holder of subsidiary certificate of title will have the estate in land. Now, so I presume that you have already watched the video on estate in land. Now, if you haven't watched the video on estate in land, you can actually go back to the video on estate in land to understand what is the meaning of estate in land and the right of possession. So what's the relationship between this term? Now, SCT holder, meaning now I'm a lease title. I hold a lease title called SCT. Now, I am the legal owner of the premises. So what do I do as the legal owner of the premises? I pay property tax, I pay maintenance, I pay insurances. In other words, the lease that I have gone into is also known as the triple net lease. So usually that will be like the 10-year factory lease, for example, or 10-year office lease, for example. So now you still have a lot of these kind of examples in the market. Now, registration, like I mentioned earlier, now the law under the Singapore Land Authority, the Land Registration Act and all that, will require long leases exceeding 7 years to be registered. With, of course, Singapore Land Authority, you have the title office there. So because once the lessor carve out such a long lease, is considered subdivision of land. That means a portion of the land that you lease out has become a different set of property altogether. So a separate title will be issued, and this is the lease title. Let's say the land title is not given to you. All right, you're just a lease title. You just have the airspace, all right, with no share in land. So that kind of lease title is known as subsidiary certificate of title. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you may go and find the video on estate in land. In my proprietary interest video, I also mentioned subsidiary certificate of title. So, this whole series of video is actually also to give you okay, so now questions relating to the short video that I've just showed you. Now, in the weeks to come, I will continue to produce those short videos. They are all free of charge. You can come to my website and you can watch those videos. Now, those videos I have already produced about an hour worth of this kind of video. So today you watched 2. So I just somehow think that it will guide our tutorial very well, because I play a short video, then after that you all can ask questions, right? So there's 1. Now 2, it is free. All right, everybody can view it. So just tell your friends I have something like that, but give me a few days to put that up on my website. And number 3, basically this kind of videos is just to showcase my capability. That is, I won't give you something that is wrong and then you cannot find me. No, that will not happen to me. Okay, because you come to my website, you can email me and I'll answer you. That's number 1. And I know that every batch without fail, people will, because I'm the only trainer who put myself up in the public to answer questions. So you're going to go everywhere to buy your MCQ ready, then you'll come and ask me. So in the past, I used to get very, very, very upset about it, okay? But now I have God, okay? I will pray to God to give me peace. So I will just want to forget those things. I do whatever I think is best for you. So I also hope that you will also support me, because that means a lot of time. I got to create the video, I got to shoot the video myself, and I'm going to find people to watch the video. So okay, so I think I want to do a lot more. So to showcase, number 1, number 2 is my package got 30 hours worth of explanation, much more. Every single detail I will explain in the video. And then the MCQs, there are thousands of MCQ. I do not know other trainers sell you how many. So, but my guarantee is I've been here. Now, I mean, I've been an agent for 21 years. All right. I've been teaching for 18 years. The last few years has been full-time. So that's why week after week, months after months, batch after batch, I'm still here. Answering questions. I don't see other trainers after they sell the MCQ, they are there to answer questions. Okay, so questions, please. I know the videos are not perfect. It's meant to be not perfect so that you will buy the package. Now, let's talk about SCT. I think somebody asked me SCT earlier. I cannot remember your name. So your question is, what's the difference? What's the difference? Ask me to explain a little bit more. Is subsidiary strata certificate of title same as subsidiary certificate of titles? They are different because SSCT got one more S. That S is called strata. Strata means you have share in land. You have share in land. So SCT don't have just the S space. So when you do a title search, the landowner's name will appear in front, and then the lessee's name will appear at the back. So their lease title is actually their deed. Their lease title is actually their deed. So now, as a salesperson, what we need to do is basically just do a title search. All right, and then to satisfy ourselves that this guy who we are dealing with, his name is in the title. So then if he asks us to sell, then we can sell for him. All right, so it has got certain practical purpose there. Okay, so now we still got about 25 minutes. I would appreciate very much if you all continue to ask questions. How many of you are taking next week's? Is it next week? How many of you are taking next week's exam? Okay, so June is taking next week, Silver taking next week. Wow, so many taking next week. So next week, I think is what, Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, so then you got to ask question.
Weekday, Thursday, Friday.
So you got to ask question. Because I'm here, anything you're not sure, you can ask me. Even you email me, all right. It happened that Silver emailed me earlier, then I say, okay lah, I answer tonight. Well, some of you email me over the weekend. I also don't know who you are, but I will still answer. Okay, so those who are taking exam, please ask some questions. You just want to let me go like that. That are very 1.5 hours. Okay, so for those who are not taking exam, next week we will continue. Okay, I've got one question coming. License by extorper binds third party. Can have some examples. Okay, what is novation agreement? Okay, now basically license does not bind third party one. Usually it's like, okay, license means given. License means given to a specific person. All right, okay. So I cannot assign. Let's say for example, I'm a contractor, and then I come to your house to do the renovation. Then I personally never come because why? I subcontract out. I subcontract out to my, let's say, window guy, for example, or people who lay the tile, for example. So single line contact, so you are the house owner. You only deal with me, you don't deal with my subcontractor. In fact, I also don't like it when you deal directly with my subcontractor. So the subcontractor will be entering your premises, all right, on my license. But do not forget, they are considered they are me. They are considered they are me. Because why? Because they are my associate. They are my associate. So we are talking about the same license. So they are not the third party. All right. Okay. So license by extorper, don't have to worry. Okay. I mean, we have contractual license, more commonly asked and then just plain license. Okay, so now let me explain novation. Now you see, You see, actually, I do understand your needs, because why? All these are explained in class already, but you hear one time, after the class, you forget already. So you need to hear many times. That's why people like Alvin, Jennifer, Han, Li Chia. Okay, I mean, I have. I mean, some of you already bought the package, because you can listen again. Then it goes in. All right. So now let me explain novation agreement. There are 3 types of novation. Number 1, the replacement tenant come in and take over my remaining lease. Then they go into a fresh tenancy with the landlord. Let's say my lease, my tenancy left 8 months. 8 months. So I find a replacement tenant who comes in and say that, oh, left 8 months. Okay. Then I will just sign 8 months with the landlord. So you pay how much? I say I pay 10,000. Then I say, okay, I offer you 8,000. 8,000, I will sign with the landlord. So when I approach the landlord, I say, landlord, I found a replacement tenant who's willing to pay 8,000. Landlord will say, okay. I mean, he come in, he continue to pay rent. Now he will pay me 8,000. You will top up 2,000. As far as the landlord is concerned, the landlord will never lose any cent. So for 8 months, the landlord will collect 2,000 from the original tenant, which is outgoing. Because why? Because the replacement tenant come in, he's going to sign a fresh lease. So now the replacement tenant come in, pay the landlord 8,000. The outgoing tenant paid the other 2,000. Now, how does the landlord buy the outgoing tenant? How does the landlord buy the outgoing tenant? So the landlord will buy the outgoing tenant through the novation agreement. Because once he go out, once I sign a new lease, the outgoing tenant will drop out of the picture totally. So if I don't have a novation agreement, I cannot chase back the shortfall of 2,000. So this is the first novation. But don't worry, if you don't remember, next week you come, you can ask again, I explain again. Because my job is just to say the same thing over again. Even though I create video and all that to give you fresh example, but the basic concept remains the basic concept. Okay, first type of novation agreement is I left 8 months, you come, you take over 8 months. Landlord sign novation with the outgoing tenant, sign a fresh lease with the new tenant, or we call replacement tenant. The second type of novation is the replacement tenant come in, look at the place and say, I like it very much. I want to sign 3 years. I want to sign 3 years. You bring me to your landlord. I will tell landlord, I want to sign 3 years. 8,000 a month. So for 3 years, 8,000 a month, they go into a new tenancy agreement. But for my remaining 8 months, the landlord continue to buy me through a novation agreement. That means I either give the landlord 16,000 and then I drop out of the picture completely, or I just pay the shortfall every month for 8 months. Then after that, I will drop out of the picture. So this is the second type, means that there is a longer, fresh tenancy agreement. Now, then you say, hey, they all look like the same. The first one is no more stamp duty, need to pay, no need to pay stamp duty, because why? You left 8 months, I take over 8 months on the lower rent, so I don't have to pay stamp duty. But the second situation where I come in, I rent 3 years, so now I will have to pay the stamp duty all over again. That is 3-year rent add together times 0.4%. By the way, this is paper 2, but you need to know how to calculate the leasing stamp duty. Now I got 9 hours worth of taxation, which I teach. I taught in CBD. So I'm still very familiar with taxes. You can ask me tax question, no issue. All right. Now, what is third type of novation? The third type of novation is between the original landlord and the original tenant. Meaning there's no new replacement tenant, but the original party replace the old tenancy with the new tenancy. All right, which is lower rent. So this is really goodwill lah. So example now I just signed my 3-year lease. Let's say before COVID. Before COVID, I just signed 3 years. So I signed 10,000. But now October, let's say October, a new tenant come in, they only pay 7,000. Of course, I'm very angry. I paid 10,000. This is my first year of the 3 years. So now I get very angry. I go and confront the landlord and say, hey, landlord, how can like that and all that? Okay, landlord say, okay, never mind, I tell you what, you continue stay on until end of second year. I will grant you another 3 years. That means the third year we replace it, because landlord need to retain their tenant. If they let the tenant go, they don't know they have to vacant for how long. So then they recontract. It is like your phone like that. You recontract. So you recontract. You still need to account for how come the third year you don't want. So you still go into novation agreement, all right, between the original party. Okay, so that is novation. All right. Novation, usually in the exam, they will describe a scenario, then they ask you what kind of agreement is this. So now you understand already. So when they ask you new replacement tenant come in and all that, usually it's fill in the blanks. You have to write out the word novation agreement. Okay. Alvin asks again, the property will go back to the grantor in live estate with reversionary interest. When the question asked was different between reversionary interest and remainder interest in a live estate. Now, since just now the video got no remainder interest, so now let me explain what is remainder. Remainder means the next generation. All right. Okay. Now let's say my father passed away, leave his real estate to me, but only for me to enjoy for my lifetime. And then in the will, he says that I must pass to my son, and my son must pass to my grandson. My grandson must pass to my great-grandson. So that is called live estate with remainder, because now as I'm still alive, my son is the remainder. And let's say I die already, the property go to my son, then my grandson will be the remainder, and so on and so forth. Now, reversion is different. Live estate with reversion is different. That means my father straight away give the freehold right to my son. And now tell my son, in the will, instruct my son to grant the live estate to me. So for as long as I'm alive, the house is mine. Usually people will rent out. I mean, the family is already very rich. They will rent out. So therefore, it's the question of who enjoys the rent. So for my lifetime, I enjoy the rent. So let's say I about to die already. My wife will make sure I'm on life support for as long as I don't die. The rental comes to me because I cannot enjoy. So my wife enjoy. Okay. So the moment my life expires, die, and then the rent will go to my son. Okay. So sometimes it's because I have no son, for example. I have no son, then I have to give to the nearest kin, Let's say I have no son. Then my brother got son, for example. Then when I die, the property will have to go to my siblings' child. Usually, they will give to the first son. So then I get very angry, but too bad. Okay, I die already. Okay, then when I have no descendant, okay, so the property will then go to a closest kin. Okay, so Okay, somebody asked again, after SMP, all right, only then the purchaser will have legal interest over the property. Okay. So you see, for those who are in my class, you remember I have the blue circular thing in my lecture. So I actually spent quite a lot of time, I think more than half an hour in class explaining when the equitable interest become legal interest. Okay, so now let's talk about option. When I pay, let's say 1% to get the option, I have become the equitable owner. So now I exercise the option, I'm still an equitable owner. What I can do is to lodge a caveat to protect my interest. So now I got to wait until legal completion. On the day of legal completion, I become the legal owner. Now, so that is for resale. Very easy to understand, right? But for new home, it's different already. Now, new home, you got progress payment. So now I go in, I put 5%. I have 3 weeks to exercise option, another 5 weeks to enter into contract. All right, so I pay the 20%, then wait for a year and a half, sometimes 2 years. I pay another 35%. Like that. Then I pay another 35% means 55%. Then I wait for another 6 months to a year. I pay another 20%. That will make it. That will make it 85%. I pay another 30%. That will make it 85%. And then 852%, 8%, 5%, 2%. All right, I got to put it into the Singapore Academy of Law as the stakeholder. Then after that, I take key to the unit. I am still an equitable owner because why? The legal completion will happen. All right. You see, TOP, I get key. TOP, 1 year later, CSC. I'm still living inside. CSC, 3 to 4 months later, then legal completion. So I will become the legal owner only after 3.5 years, maybe sometimes 4.5 years. So in the interim, my interest is protected by a caveat. But caveat lasts for 5 years, 5 years. So usually the longest wait is about 4 years, you become the legal owner. Now, once you become the legal owner, the bank will cancel the caveat already. In fact, I got video on caveat, but I don't think we have time to play the video. So just spread the word around that I even make video to help you clarify your doubts. Because after so many years, I know that you need help. You just need to hear me explain over and over again. For those who are experienced will know, when I explain, it's the same thing over and over again. So now I even come up with videos. Okay, I think I will make as many as is practically possible. Okay, but you all still must support me. Buy the package. Buy the package. Don't just pay $30 for some outdated MCQ, and then you got nobody to turn to ask. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so now we still got another 8 minutes. So can I have one more question? Okay, since there's no question, our class monitor says that let's make it Tuesday. I can't confirm now because I don't know whether next Tuesday I have night class or not. So let me confirm with the class monitor. So I will invite all of you back again. All right. So I hope you understand. I hope you understand that this situation is perpetual. I mean, I have been in this market for so long, and the people do this to me all the time. Take other trainers MCQ and come and ask me. It's not that I'm unwilling or what lah. Okay, it's just that I think that some of the answers, which is not right, they should be the one who explain, not me. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I will see you next week. Thank you very much. Hey, can buy my package. Buy my package. Go to my website to make the purchase. Thank you very much.